Most people tell you that you can book 30, 50, 100 appointments every single month, but don't actually give you the framework in order for you to do it yourself. In this video, I'm going to break down how to create a sales team that's able to book from 5 to 10 sales calls every single day on your calendar. And the best part is that these calls are warmed up because we use the conversion growth funnel and StaffUp.io. So I'm going to break down what the structure should be and how you can apply that to your agency, consultancy, or SaaS business. Let's dive in. All right, so I'm basically going to share, the ultimate training, how to basically create a sales team. Honestly, there's actually people that sell this information, in courses. I'm going to give it for free. I'm going to show you how to basically go ahead and find, appointment setters. I'm going to show you what are the circumstances in order for you to actually hire, a sales team. But before I dive into all of that, and actually share my screen, show you everything, basically you need to know that the number one factor for your sales team to be successful, with you is you need to make sure that you have lead flow before you even think about building a sales team. If you don't have lead flow, building a sales team is the last of your concerns. If you're not booking sales calls, there's nothing to sell. That makes sense. There's nothing for you to actually, you can't possibly hire someone and have them do this for you if you're not booking sales calls already, So you can't have someone who's going to book calls on your behalf because you don't know how to book sales calls yet. You can't have someone that's going to close clients for you because you don't know how to close clients yet. So that's why, super crucial if you don't have lead flow, it's going to be tough for you to make it work. So you need to have lead flow, at least I would say, 5, to 10 sales calls every single week in order for you to be able to hire, sales reps. So yeah, but other than that, in this training, what I'm going to share is what structure you need to have, in order to hire sales reps, what kind of sales reps you need to hire. There's different types of sales reps out there. And what are the circumstances that you need to have in order to build a sales team? Because every business is different. Every, person is at a different stage, and you don't have to do necessarily the same thing based on where you're at, So I'm going to show you how to build it based on where you're currently at, whether you're booking 5-10 appointments per week, whether you're booking 10 to 20 appointments per week or 25 plus appointments per week. I'm going to show you as well what type of setters, you need to have based on your lead source, because the buying intent is different for everybody. Someone that you've acquired through cold outreach doesn't have the same buying intent as someone that you've acquired through paid ads. Why? Because with paid ads, more likely they were looking for you. Cold outreach, they were not, I'm also going to show you some ways in order for you to be able to transform cold leads, into warm leads, but we're going to go into that in a sec. All right. Another thing that we're gonna see is basically the pillars of growth. So I'm going to show you how to structure your sales team with the last, 2 variables that I mentioned. Basically, you booking X amount of calls, and basically what's the lead source. I'm going to show you how to track the performance, and at the end, I'm going to show you how to compensate, your appointment setters. So let's begin. All right. So let's say that you're booking 5 to 10 appointments per week. Maybe you're doing some LinkedIn outreach, Facebook outreach, LinkedIn. Maybe, this is the perfect thing for you. So pay attention. So the easiest way, to fail when you're building a sales team is to hire the wrong people. So your role as a sales leader is to hire the right people for your team. The worst mishire of them all is hiring the wrong sales rep because they're a direct representation of your business. So it means if you hire someone who's not good, that's going to reflect on your business because people judge what they see, on the front end, and you might have an amazing service, but if you have, excuse my French, but shitty reps, they're going to think that you have a shitty company. I'm sorry. So yeah, so that's basically, why you basically need to find great reps. So that's step 1, you basically need to find great reps. And I'd recommend that you start with one setter. So you can use obviously StaffUp.io. And use our custom matching feature, So StaffUp.io is the thing that we use for ourselves, that's basically our platform. Our clients, obviously use it too. So you can basically hire reps, based on their experience, you can hire reps, based on, what is it that they've been able to do. We have a custom matching feature as well that allows you to specifically tell us what kind of reps you're looking for. And then from there, we basically go ahead and match you with the exact person that you're looking for, So this is the exact same thing, that we use for ourselves in order for us to basically grow our sales team, so we use ourselves. That's great. So yeah, step 2 is really to ramp them up. I'm going to show you how. After 30 days, you know that your appointment setter rule of thumb, your appointment setter should be able to book 25 appointments every single week. Normally, if you have a process that works and you're already booking from 5 to 10 sales calls a week, normally, because your appointment setter has more time and they're able to do more than you and have more inputs, they're able to book more calls. More inputs equals more outputs, So the more messages you send, the more follow-ups you do, the more people you reach out to, the more calls you're going to have that are offered, the more sales calls you're going to have that are going to be booked, and the more strategy sessions, or sales calls you're going to have. So this is how you basically ramp them up. And this is what people actually charge you for this stuff, just to know how to basically train, their appointment setter, which is crazy for me. I'm giving it to you for free. All right. So week 1, you basically onboard them. You need to have some sort of like onboarding process, that you leverage for all of your candidates, doesn't have to be complicated. For your onboarding process, it's really simple. You want to have a series of steps where you basically break down what's your culture. You want to break down as well what you can expect, from working with you, You want to break down what are the rules, in the company, and at the end, you want to give them access to your training, So you can basically have like a funnel, and you basically have a series of videos that you put them through. And so don't overcomplicate this. Just create a clean onboarding process so that way you can onboard, your reps, Now, by the way, this is stuff that we provide, to our users. So that way, when they basically go on SafeUp and use one of our reps, they're able to onboard their person and their appointments that are as fast as possible. Number 2, you give them access, to your training, So that's why it's important for you to have like SOPs. If you don't have your entire process that's mapped out, it's going to be tougher for you to actually train, your rep on what is it that you're doing, because they're going to have to maybe guess. So that's why you basically want, to have something that's mapped out. You want to have the SOPs. How do you find prospects? How do you go about contacting them? What type of messages do you use? What's your follow-up sequence? How do you go ahead and do the discovery calls? You want to have all this stuff mapped out. So you want to have a rep that's going to go over your training materials and from there apply what is it that they've seen. Number 3, help them understand your business. Really important. You want to, obviously they need to understand your offer, what you do, how it works, your service, how you help your clients. You want to indoctrinate them into how you guys do things. You want to show them actual results that you guys have been able to provide to your clients. You want to show them case studies, testimonials, all that good stuff, because ultimately they need to be sold as well before they can actually sell the discovery call or maybe sell the process, because an appointment setter is most of the time not selling, the service. They're selling the strategy session or the discovery call, whatever you call it. But yeah. All right. Number 4, help them understand your clients. They need to know your clients better than they know themselves. If you know someone's pain points and problems, you're able to position yourself as a solution, to their problems. So that's why, you basically go over this. This step is really important. For me, it's like the most important thing out there, because once you understand someone's problems, you can literally sell them anything. So yeah. Number 5, give them access, to your training, so it's basically the same thing as this. It's actually the same thing. So yeah, let's actually remove that. All right, week 2, show them how you book appointments and let them ask questions. You basically want to show them how you're booking calls. And by the way, this is something that you do overall if you don't have a setter yet, but even if you have a setter, you'd still do it. But I want to emphasize the fact that if you don't have a setter, that's the perfect thing that you need to do. You need to show them how you book appointments and let them ask questions. Go through your messages, go through your conversations, actually book people on the call, actually follow up with leads, show them everything. Show them everything. I want you to record the session so that way you can send it to them, right after. You let them actually go through it, and then from there, you're going to do a next call where you're going to let them handle the outreach, So you're basically going to shadow them. So you want to see what kind of mistakes they're doing. Are they doing things, the right way? If they're doing cool, you congratulate them. If they're not, you give them feedback and you see if they adjust, So that's why you just don't, you don't just want to give access to your process and be like, okay, just book calls now. Here's how to do it. Here's the training, and that's it. You need to have some accountability, So number 8, do this every day until, you feel that they get it. Once, you feel that they get it and that they know how to book calls, that they get the entire process, and if you have, a rep, that's experienced. Obviously, like on Staff Up, we provide reps that are experienced. They're going to be able to understand really fast, what is it you do and how it works. All right. So yeah, remember to keep giving them feedback and start tracking, their numbers. You want to track the numbers. Really important, because it's going to be able to, you're going to be able to actually go ahead and give them feedback based on actual numbers. You want to track multiple things like your close rates. You want to track your reply rates. You want to track your show up rates. You want to track all these things to make sure that they're successful at their role. So yeah, so you don't need to have something like this, but it needs to be something that looks like this, where you track, the core main things, which is, in my opinion, you need to track your reply rates. From there, you want to track your booking rates. Then you want to track your show up rates on the first discovery call. Then you want to track your close rates on the first discovery call as well. How many people do you get to that second call? And then you want to track your show up rates on the strategy session, sales call, whatever you want to call it. And you want to track your close rates on the same strategy session or sales call. All of these things, to make sure that you're able to see what's the real impact that a rep has on your business. So yeah, and at this point, you may be thinking, okay, cool. I'm booking 25 calls a week, because at this point, normally the appointment setter, should basically be able to book 25 appointments, after a month. You may think, okay, the best next step is to hire a closer. Not yet. Once they book 25 appointments, you need to rinse and repeat. So it means that you need to go on Staff Up, as well, or whatever method that you're using in order for you to find reps, and then from there, you basically need to go over and schedule another interview in order for you to actually hire another rep. You don't just want to stop after like one rep. One appointment setup. Doesn't make sense, because you're not going to, if you want to get a closer, you need to make sure that you have like multiple people that are on the line, meaning that multiple people are feeding the closer. Otherwise, let's say that your first appointment setter, let's call that first setter one. Say the person is not present, maybe they're sick, maybe they have like, I don't know, whatever, like they're going to a wedding or something, and they're not able to book calls for like a week. What happens then? Your closer doesn't have any lead flow. They don't have any calls, So you need to make sure that you have at least two setters, that are booking calls consistently for one closer. So yeah, so the only difference, is now you have a rep, who can also train your next rep. So it means that it's going to be a lot easier and faster for you to basically get this rep to ramp up, because they're going to have someone that's going to be able to let them know, okay, so I think you're doing this great. And this actually happened, internally. Basically had one appointment setter that was able to book calls. He was booking from 20 to 25, consistently, bring down another, and basically the first rep was actually coaching, the second rep on what, on the overall SOPs on how to book calls. He was giving him advice, and guess what? The second rep basically got ramped up a lot faster, because the first rep was able to give him more feedback, So it's good. You still go through the same process of like shadowing them, showing them the process, doing it with them, but it's going to be a lot faster. So the more you do this, the more you had reps, you're going to notice that the less time it's going to take for you to actually train someone and get them to book 25 calls. So yeah, it gets easier and easier and easier. And once, setter 2 is booking 25 calls consistently, you can then add another closer to your team. Why? Because you most likely will not have the bandwidth to handle that many calls. You're not going to be able to handle, like, let's say that you're doing 50 discovery calls. From there, they're bringing maybe like 25 to on your calendar every single week. So you're not going to be able to handle that many calls unless you're not sleeping or anything, but you should sleep. So you should probably hire a second closer. So basically someone who's going to be with you in order to help you to close deals. So you hire a closer to help you with the calls, but when do you step out? You basically step out when you have two closers handling the calls. So you basically want to hire another closer that's going to replace you, so that way you can go ahead and focus on other things. Maybe you can like become a sales manager in the company. Maybe you can hire another sales manager, so that way you don't have to necessarily focus on that, But you only step out once you basically have two closers that are handling the calls. Otherwise, you don't want to just rely on one person that's going to potentially close deals or not, Let's say they, let's say they get sick. They're not feeling well. Their girlfriend or boyfriend, left them, it's harsh, but like they're not gonna. There's always gonna be something. So that's why you want to have a backup. So yeah. Now, in order for you to hire a closer, you can either go on StaffUp.io. Obviously, we'll use the custom matching feature, give you access to a closer in this case. Now you're gonna be able to tell us more about like what kind of person you're looking for. But let's say that you don't want to hire like another person. You can basically turn one of your setters into a closer. So what you do is that you can hire one more setter. So let's call him setter 3, and you only do this if setter 1 or 2 have really good conversations over the phone and are crushing discovery calls. If they do not have good calls and they're not good over the phone, there is no point, for you to hire them as a closer. And you can typically do this after like 3 months of them working, for you as an appointment setter. The good thing about this method is that they already know how to generate leads. They already know how to do the follow-ups. They know how to hunt for leads. So it means that as a closer, and they know your business as well. So as a closer, they're going to be able to actually go ahead and book their own calls if they have like a slow week, for example, from one of the setters, or if they don't have enough lead flow, because they've already gone through the appointment setting role. So they know how to generate appointments. And most of the time you're going to notice that it's way better to have a rep who can actually feed himself when things are turning bad, than to have just a closer who doesn't necessarily know how to generate leads. All right, cool. So how do you know if they're crushing it? Simple. When I mean crushing it, it's basically how do you know that they're good over the phone and that they have good conversations? Really simple. You need to have them record their discovery calls and analyze their calls every single week. That's the kind of thing that, that you need to track. The reason why you want to record your discovery calls is because you want to know how good your reps are doing. Are they maybe like not explaining, the features, Are they maybe sharing too much, Or they maybe they don't have a good tonality, you don't know, So that's stuff that you need to do in order for you to be able to know which rep, you're gonna take as the closer in this case. Especially if you use StaffUp.io. Our reps, basically have experience as far as like calls, and we vet them based on that too, So we pre-vet like all of our candidates. So we know that they're good over the phone. So normally you shouldn't have that problem. So that most likely setter 1 will be the best one because they've been here longer and they've been able, and they know your business overall. So yeah, but that's if you leverage StaffUp.io. But if you go outside, maybe you go on a Facebook group or something, you never. And again, recording sales calls, might feel like a lot of work and hard work, but it is a lot of work to build a great sales team. All right. Now let's say that you're booking 25 appointments, per week, and you already have a setter, you're already like at a point where you're booking a lot of calls and you want to add another person, or maybe you want to add another closer. Guess what? You do the exact same thing. Whether you want an appointment setter or a closer, you do the exact same thing. You need to take them on a call. You need to, week 1 is you onboard them. You give them access to your training. You help them understand your business. You help them understand your clients. You show them how you book appointments. You send them, the recording the next day. You let them handle the outreach, For a closer, it's a bit different. It's basically you need to like go on role plays, with them, give them feedback, let them shadow you, and then from there they ask questions, So it's a bit different, but it's the same principle, really. So yeah, and really like the only difference is that you should, at this point, if you're booking 25 appointments, per week, and you already have a setter, you should probably consider hiring a sales manager. So that way they can help you to manage, the reps, And let's assume that you already have a closer as well. It's the perfect point. If you already have a closer, already have an appointment setter, and you want to add another setter in order to like feed your closer with more calls, you should definitely consider hiring like a sales manager as well. Or you can do it on your own if you want to. But when you're going to grow, and let's say that you get from 25 to 50 plus, and you basically hire another closer, even at that point, you basically need to hire a sales manager. It's going to make your job a lot easier, and you're going to be able to focus on actually being the owner of the company instead of the sales manager. All right. Now, let's say that you're booking calls through cold outreach, and paid ads. I'm going to show you, the exact flow that you need to follow in order for you to be able to crush it. Now, I told you, you need to convert, even when you're doing cold outreach, you need to convert cold leads into warm leads. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. If you're not doing this, you're going to be on sales call with people who are like, remind me why we're on the call again? I don't know if you've ever had that feeling, but it's like, It's like, damn, you need to have some sort of way for you to convert cold leads into warm leads. When we're doing like cold outreach, I never want to get on the call with someone and the person is like, what do you do again? Why? Because we're basically like adding steps in between so that way we can show them our process, educate them, qualify them. But I'll share with you what it looks like. All right. So basically, most people, as far as like cold outreach, just start with cold outreach, what they do is that they rely on the old way. They have a cold audience or even a warm audience. From there, they convert them into a call and then they close. And that's pretty much it. The new way, which is the conversion growth funnel, is basically you have a cold audience, warm audience, or paid ads. From there, you focus on having clouds. So clouds is influence, From there, you convert them, you qualify them. They go for a pre-selling mechanism and education process. And at the end, you close them. Most people go from cold audience to closing. And that's why their closing ratio is not as high. I mean, it's maybe like 15 or 20% because they're going straight from a cold audience to closing. In this case, you need to take them through all of these steps. So that way, when they're on the closing call, they already know what you do. They already know how you can help. They're already pre-sold, indoctrinated about like your way of doing things. And from there, you go ahead and like going to like create an even bigger gap when you're basically closing the client. So let me go in detail. Let's talk about like the cold outreach process. There's like a lot of steps, into this. So I won't go into it today, but basically you can go ahead and use the engagement method. You ask terrific questions in order to find inefficiencies. You only send a pitch, if you know that they'll say yes. From there, you book them on a call. All these things are things that appointment setters actually leverage in order for them to basically be able to book their own sales call. I mean, not their own sales calls, but like their own discovery call. So yeah, then there's like other flows, that you can use, but I won't go into too much details. Once they're basically on the call and they book the prospect at this point, that's when the qualification process starts. You want your rep to do a 15-minute discovery call in order to qualify the prospect. And that's the reason why we basically pre-vet all of our candidates, is because we want to make sure that they basically are able to conduct conversations. So that way, when you do add a rep, to your team or an appointment setter, they're basically able to like qualify leads. They have the right tonality. They've done it in the past. They know how to do it. That's why it's so important, that first step that I told you about, finding the right person. Because if you do this wrong, this whole process is now messed up because they're not going to be able to qualify leads. They're not going to be able to find questions, to ask questions and in order to find inefficiencies. It's going to be tough. So basically, they go through the qualification process, 15-minute call, qualify them, try to see if they have the money, if they want to do it now, if it is something, that they even need in the first place, That's how you make sure that you're booking qualified sales calls. From there, you send them a pre-selling mechanism, something that we actually help our users, craft as well. Basically, like having a pre-selling mechanism. You give them access to your community. In your pre-selling mechanism, you want to have one call to action at the end of the video. It's basically join our community. Why are we doing that? Because we want to, again, indoctrinate the person into our way of thinking and our way of doing things. We want them to be like, I can't believe that I wasn't doing what this person is actually doing right. You basically need to change like their lenses, the way that they view the world. So this is like when you have this kind of transformation, that's when it becomes really easy for you to like crush it when you close it. So yeah, from there, you give them access to testimonials. So you nurture them with email campaign, with testimonials. Good stuff about you, case studies, you want to send them as many things as possible, make them like strategic, so that way you're not just sending like anything. And then at the end, we put them through our anti-no-show system and you're closing the deal at the end. And at this point, you're talking to someone who already knows who you are, who wants, what is it that you're selling, and that's how you basically convert a cold lead into a warm lead. Again, there's like a lot of things, that go into this, like the figuring out how to create a pre-selling mechanism, how to make sure that you structure your community in the right way to make sure that they can see the most valuable parts of your community. What type of emails to send, like what are the good emails to send, what emails you should not send, what's like the anti-no-show system. Bunch of things, that your appointment setter actually helps you to do as well, because they make sure obviously that the person actually shows up as well. So yeah, so there's a lot of things, so I won't go into it for now. But yeah, so that's basically for cold leads. Now, let's say that you're doing this for the old way. Let's say that you're doing this for paid ads. The old way is they go for a VSL or a lead magnet, doesn't matter. And then from there, they have a call with the closer. And that's pretty much it. Most people, that's what they do. Even like your favorite guru and your favorite guru, that's what they do. Like whether that's like contents, or paid ads, it's always the same thing. They go for a VSL and at the end there's a call with closer. And obviously it's great because like they're able to get people who are coming to them. So that's like it's a lot easier to close than cold leads, obviously. But the new way is basically you're collecting an email and a phone number. From there, they go for your VSL, yes. Then at this point, there's a decision that has to be made. They either book a call on your calendar or they basically do not book a call on your calendar. Now, if they don't book a call on your calendar, that's when the magic happens. You basically want to have an appointment setter that's going to go ahead and actually call the person. Most people that will go for your funnel, if right now you're like doing content or maybe you're doing paid ads, most people that go for your funnel will not actually book a call. Even if you retarget them, they might book a call when you retarget them, but ultimately it's almost like you've lost them. But by having someone who's going to go ahead and actually call your prospect, you're basically going to be able to get them back on the call and book them with the closer. That's what, the big businesses are doing right now in our space in order for them to really scale their business, because they've realized one thing. They've realized that they're reducing their cost per acquisition by basically investing into ads, but having someone who follows up with the leads that actually up to it. That's what the big businesses in our space are doing. That's what they're doing. So yeah, so you need to replicate the same thing, in order for you to do something like this. From there, you ask qualifying questions. So obviously that's your conversion growth expert. So I like to call him conversion growth expert, but it's an appointment setter that goes ahead and asks questions, qualify them. Is it something that they want to do now? Do they have the budget? Do they even have a need? And then from there, they book a call with the prospect, sends them the pre-selling asset, so that way they can be pre-sold even more, even after they've watched the VSL maybe, or maybe they didn't. So you basically go ahead and send them pre-selling assets, but you make them go through the exact same flow, anti-no-show system, nurturing emails. You want to basically add them to your community. And then at the end, they have the call with the close. Like just imagine, having a process like this. So that way you're able to reduce, your cost per acquisition. Like, yes, you can do retargeting campaigns again. Yes, it is completely doable and like you should do it. But what's going to allow you to book even more calls is basically having someone who's going to go ahead and book calls. Not necessarily book calls, but follow up with your leads, actually call them as soon as they basically hopped in within 5 minutes. All right, cool. So let's go back. So hopefully that was valuable, and now you get like how to basically convert cold leads into warm leads. And if you're doing paid ads, how to basically, get back a lot of prospects that do not book a call with you because maybe they're on the fence or maybe like, I don't know, life happens sometime, and how to book even more calls and increase, the amount of calls booked that you have. So, right. So if you're doing cold outreach, and let's say that you're booking, from 25 to 50 plus sales calls at this point, you've gone through this entire process. You have now a sales team. This is the structure that you should have. Again, you should have 2 sellers, one closer and yourself, if you like closing, if you wish to keep closing. But in order to really have like a lot of leverage, I'd recommend having 2 sellers and having 2 closers. Now you need 2 outbound sellers who both have experience over the phone, but understand how to find inefficiencies. If you don't have outbound sellers that do not have experience over that, on the phone, yes, it's maybe going to work, and yes, it might work, but it's going to take more time. So that's why, ideally you want to have someone who has experience already. They know what they're doing. So that way it increases your likelihood to succeed. So yeah. And the 2 other outbound closers, you want them to know how to handle cold leads, and you want them to have like already done it in the past. Because again, handling like cold leads is not handling inbound leads, for example. It's totally different. So that's why you need to basically look at what's your buying intent, and then from there create a team around, your buying intent. If you're doing cold, don't go ahead and recruit someone who's going to be like an inbound closer, because most likely, they're going to deal with objections, that an inbound closer will not get, because inbound is inbound. They know you, love you, and trust you. So it's easier most of the time. Even though we still have the conversion growth funnel, but inbound tends to convert a lot more, of course. You also need to make sure that there are enough calls on your closers calendar, and if you're not booking enough calls, don't hire another one. So let's say that you have two setters, one closer, and maybe like they're both booking like 15, so that's like 30. Don't hire an appointment, don't hire a closer, because it's not worth it. It means that you need to fix, the last constraint. So the last constraint is your setter is not booking enough calls. So once you fix that, get them to book 25 to 50. That's when you can basically add another player. All right. For paid ads, you need two inbound setters who both have experience over the phone but understand how to find inefficiencies. Again, an inbound lead is completely different than a cold lead. So it doesn't require the same skills, So you basically need to have someone who already has experience with handling inbound leads. It's even more important for closers because, again, a cold lead versus an inbound lead is completely different. It's completely different methodology because like the buying intent, again, is different. If there's one thing, that you should remember about this whole thing is like, remember about the buying intent. Right? So that's why you can't have a DM setter doing the job of an inbound setter and vice versa. And same thing for your closer. That's why it's important to hire an A-player based on culture, but also someone who has the right skills. And that's why, frankly, I love using our own platform, to hire people whenever we're looking for like an appointment setter for Staff Up in order to grow our platform. We basically go ahead on Staff Up, and find someone who matches our culture and matches, the skills that we're looking for. More importantly, culture, but the skills as well, So that's basically like, if you're looking for an appointment setter, obviously, you can go ahead and schedule a demo down below if you want to. And we're going to be able to see if we have like the right rep for you, Obviously, I might be a bit biased because it's our tool and it's our platform, but that's so important. Like, you need to have someone who already has experience. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Now, how should you pay your appointment setter? Now, the first thing is, if you want to pay your appointment setter, you need to look at your lead flow. Again, based on the amount of leads that you're booking, you want to know, you'll be able to know exactly how to pay your appointment setter. Most of the time, if you're doing cold outreach, they have to get the leads themselves. So I recommend having a base plus commission, so you can do from, I'd say 5 to 10% of every deal that closes. But I'd recommend having like a small base salary. Doesn't have to be too crazy. If you're doing paid ads, because the leads are coming to them and they only have to call the prospects, I'd recommend just doing commission. And again, doing 5 to 10% because the leads are coming to them and it's much easier. So rule of thumb, that if you're doing cold outreach, and they have to find their own leads, base plus commission. And if you're doing this for paid ads, it's basically commission only in this case, And with Staff Up, good thing is that we allow, our users, we have a feature that allows, basically our users to basically be able to pay their appointment setter directly on the platform, So let's say that we were to do this for like ourselves, let's say, in order to pay my appointment setter, I'll basically mention, what is the invoice for? So let's say commission. Who is it for? Let's say, okay, Jack. Then what's the email address? You basically go ahead and include your email address. What is the base price, of this invoice? So let's say that they close like a $5,000 package, and they got 10%, basically 500, never, because it's one time. And you basically go ahead and click on create invoice. And what's going to happen is that they're ultimately going to receive an invoice. That's great because you can basically directly pay your rep directly on the platform. You can pay them a salary, So let's say that you were to, if you want to pay them a salary, same thing, so salary to whom? Let's say me. What is their email? What's the base price? Let's say you want to pay them a salary. What's the recurrence? Monthly. Okay. And you go ahead and click on create an invoice. And from there, it will give them automatically a monthly salary. So you're able to not only like find the perfect rep because we custom match you with our custom matching feature. We actually have like one of our sales managers that goes ahead and like handpicks, someone for you. But we allow you as well to basically pay your appointment setter and your rep directly on the platform. Isn't this amazing, guys? It's amazing. All right, cool. So that's basically how you pay, your appointment setter. We are if they're doing cold outreach, pay that. If they pay that, basically a commission if they're doing pay that. So, all right. So if you want to do this on your own, I salute you, and I wish you great luck. Ultimately, I'm recording this video in order to give you like the right framework in order for you to be able to do this. But if you want to basically like fast track your success and you want to have like more appointments in your books, you want to be able to book like from 20 to 50 plus, sales calls every single weeks. Basically, you can basically book a call down below and let us custom match you with the perfect rep. We've done this for Splash. We've done this for David Hull. Warpcoin is actually a new user, of StaffUp, and they're all using StaffUp in order to hire top 1% appointment setters. So my invitation to you is to join the boat as well and use StaffUp.io. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, by the way, this document, will be down below, so you can go ahead and find it. But again, if you want, a top 1% appointment setter, if you want to leverage StaffUp, if you want to basically fast track your results, you can go ahead and book a call. Only do it if you're booking at least 5 to 10 calls. If you're not, unfortunately, we'll have to decline and to cancel your call. But yeah. All right. Hope that video was helpful. I wish I had something like this, when I first like creating my first sales team. Now you have this. So yeah. All right. Take care. Peace.